Welcome, everyone, on behalf of Consumers International, the global membership organization representing consumers groups worldwide. My name is Rafael Ponte. I'm Sustainable Consumption Coordinator at Consumers International. And you're now participating in the 8th session of the Sustainable Lifestyle Summit, a series of 18 discussions leading up to World Consumer Rights Day happening on Saturday, 15 March. And it happens every year. So we sincerely appreciate your engagement in this important event. Before we begin, let me briefly share some housekeeping guidelines. If my tech team could share the slides, would be awesome, but otherwise I'll just let you know because it's already on your screen. There is interpretation for this meeting. It's available in French, Spanish, and English. To activate it, but the session would be in English, of course. To activate it, click on More, select Interpretation, and choose your preferred language. For translated captions, click the Captions button. It's also on your screen at the bottom. Set my speaking language to match the speaker's language, and then my caption language to the one you prefer. And lastly, we ask speakers, and I'll remember that myself, to speak clearly and slowly so translators can do their excellent work. And a few ground rules for this session. When you join, there was event code of conduct. If you want to read this, please go back to the confirmation of registration, and this session will be recorded. We would love to share your thoughts, and we have enabled a platform, Slido, throughout the session. So have your phones, scan this QR code. We'll show it again later on, and we'll try to share the link via the chat, or just visit slido.com and join by this participant code is 3672453. And lastly, we will be sharing a wrap-up of this summit for all attendees next week. So let us begin. Our session today focuses on consumer information. Consumer information plays a fundamental role of empowering individuals to make informed decisions. However, the absence of accurate information or the presence of misleading claims, such as greenwashing, creates significant challenges. For example, misleading claims about product sustainability or safety undermine consumer confidence in businesses and institutions. Poor or absent information leaves consumers unable to assess the environmental, social, or health impacts of their choices. And without a clear and honest information, consumers struggle to adopt sustainable behaviors or support circular economy initiatives. Moreover, inadequate or inaccurate product information can lead to unsafe use of products exposing consumers to harm. This session aims to uncover how consumer information, can serve as a tool for disclosure, trust building, sustainability, and circularity to address these challenges. We're joined today by an excellent panelists from diverse sectors, from different branches that address, work, advocate for, or progress consumer information. At the moment, we have Dr. Ulf Jaeckel. He's the head of Division of Sustainable Consumer Protection at the Federal Ministry of Environment, Nature Conservation, Building and Nuclear Safety in Germany. We have Julia Catão Diaz, Sustainable Consumption Program Lead at the Instituto Brasileiro de Defensa do Consumidor, IDEC. We have Cameron Westfall, Head of Product and Engineering from the Climate Pledge Friendly at Amazon. And we also have Cecilia Parker Arana, if I'm not wrongly pronouncing this last name. She's Director of Consumer Protection at the Competition and Markets Authority in the UK. To not delay this session, we'll start to frame the discussion. And right now, I have lost one of my panelists. Maybe he'll try to join soon. I'm gonna ask directly, Julia, is it okay for you to take the lead and start the panel?
Yes, it's okay.
Thank you very much, Julia. We'll dive with you about how consumers and what can consumers and consumer organizations do to tackle greenwashing. We go straight away to one of the main issues that gather us today. What is IDEC calling for in Brazil? The floor is yours.
Okay, so hello everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Rafael and Consumers International for the invitation and also for this debate. My name is Julia and I'm speaking from Brazil. I work for IDEC, the Brazilian Institute for Consumers Defense, an organization that has been fighting for collective rights for almost 40 years. And here I coordinate the Sustainable and Responsible Consumption Program, which has as one of their mission tackling greenwashing. So here we believe that we need a structural transformation in the dominant modes of production and in the way we consume to address the social, environmental, and climate crisis that we are facing today. And we know that consumers really want to do their part. In a survey conducted by IDEC in 2023, we identified that 91% of people would like to access transparent information about product origins on packing and labels, and 76% say they would boycott brands involved in scandals related to social and environmental issues, exploitative labor, and unsustainable production. However, many companies use this consumers' awareness to engage in greenwashing. They make misleading claims about the social, environmental, and climate aspects of their products and services to sell them to these aware consumers. And that, we understand, it's a big deal, not just for individual consumers who are being misled and sometimes paying more for it, but also for the collective good, since this practice allows the continuation of the modes of consumption and production that are driving our planet toward collapse. And so what can consumers and consumer organizations do to tackle greenwashing? Here at IDEC, we work on three main fronts. First, raising awareness among consumers and producing evidence and communication campaigns. For example, last year, we launched a guide teaching consumers how to identify and avoid greenwashing. We also shared models of notifications that can be sent to companies and governments. Second, strategic litigation. This year, we sued two companies here in Brazil, Go and Localiza, that sell carbon offset to their consumers without providing information about how they can calculate them, how the projects help fight the climate crisis, etc. And finally, advocacy. We understand that we must explicitly forbid greenwashing. Here in Brazil, misleading advertising is already forbidden by a federal law. We have here the Consumer Defense Code, but we really believe we must go further. That's why IDEC drafted a regulatory decree that provides clear definitions of greenwashing. And now we are engaging with the Brazilian government to put for its approval. And we are also mobilizing civil society organizations from different sectors to strengthen the debates on this subject. To conclude, what can consumers do to tackle greenwashing? First of all, when we see a green claim, be skeptical and search for information about it. If you can't find any, ask company for transparency and push the government for regulation. And finally, join organizations like IDEC can be a powerful way to strengthen the fight against greenwashing. So if there is one in your country, try to join it. I think it's that for now. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Julia. It was really clear, and we appreciate what IDEC is doing in Brazil, and they are setting and progressing the agenda of combating greenwashing with different initiatives. And we're glad that that is the case. And you mentioned that governments also have a role in how to advance consumer information. We have in our panel also a representative of a government Ulf, I think you are already back with us for the panel. I hope the tech issues are solved, but if you can just join by audio, it will be still very much appreciated. And just to give the panel and the newcomers a brief glimpse to what Ulf does. He's Ulf Jaeckel. He's the head of Division of Sustainable Consumer Protection at the Federal Ministry of Environment, Nature Conservation, Building and Nuclear Safety in Germany. And he also co-leads the UN Consumer Information Program under the 10-year framework of sustainable consumption and production. Dear Ulf, if you're here with us, how can governments strengthen their role in preventing misleading sustainability claims while fostering consumer trust?
Rafael, thank you very much. And I'm prepared to to do my contribution even without you can see me. I'm very sorry for that technical problems, something with governmental appliances and their security device on the devices. So yes, for me, it's crystal clear that governments have the task to ensure that consumers are confronted with credible information. That's for sure. That is our task. And yes, we want make it as simple as possible for the consumer. We want them to choose a more sustainable choices, and therefore we are prepared to do something. And in particular, one instrument we have, which others might not, is regulation, of course. And if you look at the options we have, you can see that there are more or less two general approaches. One is ensuring that the communication is credible, if there is communication. And the second one is provision of sustainability information. So it is also as a requirement of sustainability information. Coming to the first one, yes, it's of course it's not easy to regulate, to prevent consumers from being confronted with greenwashing. And it's not a new phenomenon. And yes, it's companies can be very innovative when it comes to greenwashing. Therefore, it's not an easy task to do that. To help governments in our consumer information program, right from the beginning, we started in 2014. We put in our work program guidelines for providing sustainability information, and these guidelines were developed in a multi-stakeholder process with all relevant stakeholders, very participatory process, and launched in 2017. And these guidelines have fundamental principles, these have aspirational principles, and these principles are, if you look at regulations around the globe, quite often also at least partly a basis for regulation on greenwashing. One good example for that is, for example, the directive of the European in the European Union, the empowering consumers to make for the green transition, is it called, and the target is empower consumers to make informed choices and to prevent them or protect them against false claims. There are some lists what you should not do. Again, there are some things which are very I would say quite strong in this direction. For example, using words like green or eco or climate neutral are more or less forbidden unless you have can really specify them and justify them. labels are only allowed if you have a third-party verification or if they are officially recognized, and some other things which will hopefully change the markets. This directive was or entered into force in 2024 last year, and member states have 2 years' time to put them in their into force in their country. That's the first pillar. The second pillar is to set a requirement for provision of sustainability information of products. There are some good examples around the globe. For example, in the field of energy efficiency of electric appliances, there is a requirement in a lot of countries, regions, that you have to tell consumers what about the energy efficiency of the appliances and some other issues. Around that, there is some regulation to inform the consumers, for example, of the content of hazardous substances in products and so on and so forth. But this is limited to really a smaller number of product groups. Most of the product group sustainability information is not really required, so that there is quite a big room to maneuver and improvement also around the globe. What governments can do, and some of them do, in addition to that, is provide the information themselves via websites, via comparative assessments of labels and standards, and also provision of their own state label, like the Blue Angel, for example, in our country, in Germany. This is also taken up by the consumers quite positively, quite well. But looking at it from a governmental perspective and looking at the effect you have with your measures and regulation on pillar 1 and on pillar 2 would be the most effective option, to say that. I stop here. I'm really sorry that you cannot see me, but thank you for giving me the opportunity to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you, Ulf, for still being with us and helping us encourage this session. What you have mentioned is very important. We, at the Consumer Information Program, we try to progress consumer information, not only as a discourse or as a practice, but also as a regulative standard for governments. And just a quick reminder, this year is the 40 years anniversary of the UN Guidelines for Consumer Protection. And we're also having a session on this on Thursday, 13 March. You are still in time to register for this session. But now we go to see what businesses are doing to improve the reliability of consumer sustainability information and tackle misleading information. And for this, we have invited Cameron Westfall, who is the head of product and engineering at the Climate Pledge Friendly at Amazon. This is an initiative that allows consumers to choose and identify products with trusted sustainability seals and certifications. How is Amazon working on this issue, Cameron? Thank you. The floor is yours.
I appreciate the question, Rafael, and thank you for having me. I will say that this question and a lot of the conversations that have already happened today really are the foundations behind why we developed the Climate Pledge Friendly program. So for those who aren't familiar with the Climate Pledge Friendly program, we highlight products with sustainability certifications to customers across 14 different countries to help customers understand the sustainability features for particular products that they're shopping for. And the whole point of the program is designed to help customers discover products that they may not have otherwise known were more sustainable products to purchase. And the way that we kind of started this program, as with most programs at Amazon, really starts with the customer. How do we help the customer truly understand that these products are more sustainable in a highly trustworthy way? And so we developed the program back in 2020. We launched in September of 2020, and we launched with the philosophy that customers were going to be most trusted in sustainability certifications in order to help make those choices. And so we launched the program with the backing of over 50 different sustainability certifications that were vetted by our internal science teams, and then also vetted by an external party in order to gain alignment that these were the certifications that helped customers most effectively make more sustainable choices. And in assessing these options, we decided on sustainability certifications because we knew that a third-party trusted source was going to be the way that customers were going to understand that these were not greenwashing claims, similar to the direction that the EU is headed, that Ulf was talking about. And similar to Julia's points on trying to tackle greenwashing, Amazon is attempting to do the same thing by helping to incentivize brands to get sustainability certifications to help make these claims so that it can be done in the most trustworthy way for customers. And over this journey, we first highlighted sustainability certifications and seals and labels directly to customers up front. And what we found is that some of them are not intuitive for customers to truly understand, which starts to negate the point of what we're trying to do, which is help customers make more informed decisions. And so early last year, we developed a sustainability features framework, which maps our sustainability certifications to 14 different sustainability features. And I'll give you an example. So I was shopping yesterday, and I saw Level by BIFMA, which is one of the sustainability certifications that we have in the program. It's a multi-attribute certification. It assesses manufacturing processes against environmental impact, health and wellness, and social responsibility criteria. But when you look at the label itself, it doesn't tell you any of that information. It's really hard to understand what the actual certification is assessing. So what we're trying to do is bring more transparency to customers of that particular environmental impact area that the certification assesses. So we developed the sustainability features, which we highlight now to customers across all of the sites, which translates that certification into a more common vernacular, like safer chemicals used, or improvements in worker well-being, or improvements in energy efficiency. And those labels are seen throughout the website, within our search experience, within the product detail pages. And in all cases, we talk about that sustainability feature, and then we immediately show the substantiation of those features, because we know that customers are going to be interested to understand where that claim is coming from. And so we leverage third-party certifications as a way to help highlight where these claims are coming from, which is well aligned with what Ulf was talking about in the Empowering Greens Transition framework that the EU is headed towards. And so we're really excited about being able to bring these claims to customers in a transparent and trustworthy way. And that is something that our brands also seem to be really excited about. Many of the brands continue to be excited and more incentivized to get certifications because a program like Climate Pledge Friendly exists to help highlight the great work that these programs are doing in order to bring sustainability more to the forefront. And so we continue to see that excitement. We continue to see brands building roadmaps specifically targeted to certifications and making sure that they're gaining certifications to be a part of the program, and to make sure that their sustainability claims that they're bringing to consumers on Amazon are backed by the certifications within the Climate Pledge Friendly program. And so that is effectively how Amazon is looking to tackle it, by creating the right incentive for brands to do things in the right way, and building that framework in such a way that's easily understandable to customers so that they can make more informed purchase decisions.
Thank you very much, Camara. That was really clear and direct to the point, and we appreciate having this information at hand because these initiatives are perhaps not well known, and we are gonna have some mishap in communication. At least that's what consumer information also wants to tackle on having good communication channels between consumers, companies, the government, and its regulatory bodies. And right now we're gonna jump into our next panelist. She's Cecilia Parker. Let me find my notes. Here they are. She has been Director of Consumer Protection at the UK's Competition and Markets Authority since 2014. And she led the development of the Consumer Protection, of the Competition and Markets Authority Green Claims Code, and is the project director of this investigation into misleading environmental claims. So Cecilia, please, how is the world of consumer protection adapting to these challenges of misleading sustainability information? And in your view, is there any need to collaborate more effectively across borders?
Yeah, so for the past few years, I think many consumer protection authorities like the CMA have been on a journey with greenwashing. So I want to touch on 3 areas where authorities like mine are having an impact, and that's guidance, enforcement, and then policy development. So starting with guidance, as Julia referred to in Brazil, many countries globally have general consumer protection prohibitions on misleading and deceptive practices. And those apply to misleading green claims in the same way that they apply to any other type of claim about a product or service. But with the rapid growth of products making green claims, consumer protection authorities have had to move quickly to try to keep pace with developments. And in my experience, many businesses want to comply with consumer protection law on green claims. And so many consumer protection authorities like the CMA have taken the first step of developing guidance to help businesses comply. I think there's recognition that if we can help those businesses who want to comply with guidance, then we can focus our efforts on those who are deliberately and intentionally misleading consumers. And despite the fact that underlying consumer protection law differs from country to country, there are common principles which we're all agreed on. So, for example, that green claims have to be honest, that they should be based on up-to-date, reliable evidence, and they shouldn't be presented in a misleading way. And that then brings me on to enforcement. So we're increasingly seeing consumer protection authorities prioritizing enforcement action on misleading green claims. Some authorities, like the Federal Trade Commission in the US, have been taking such cases for well over a decade. But in the last 3 to 4 years, we've really started to see many more authorities taking enforcement cases against businesses on their green claims. And that's covering a wide range of topics. Green claims in fashion, for example, claims about composition of garments, claims related to food and drink. So, for example, claims on climate or carbon neutrality in relation to food and drink, claims in the auto industry, are all things that have been tackled. And similar airline sector as well is another one where consumer protection authorities are looking. So really starting to build this library of cases which help set a mark for businesses and explain what needs to be done to comply with the law. In addition to consumer authorities, I would also mention NGOs like Client Earth, who are also taking litigation action, but specifically relying on descriptors in consumer protection law, and that's a valuable addition to the toolkit, because they're sometimes able to take stronger lines or to test arguments that perhaps some consumer authorities are less able to do. So that's been very, very valuable. And then the last thing I'll just mention is policy development. So I think one thing that increasingly consumer authorities are doing is feeding back into policy discussions to make sure that the framework for tackling greenwashing is as robust as it can be. That's happening internationally. So recently, the International Consumer Protection Enforcement Network have been feeding into policy discussions at the OECD on what can be done with legal frameworks to improve tackling of greenwashing. It is also happening at domestic level, and I would point back to some work that the CMA did 2 or 3 years ago now, highlighting for our government changes which could be made to consumer protection law to ensure that we can be effective in stopping greenwashing. In terms of the second part of your question, need to collaborate. I mean, I think there's always a need to collaborate effectively across borders. Within the International Consumer Protection Enforcement Network, we've been doing a lot of work to share best practice and experience to make sure that businesses are getting the same sort of advice from consumer protection authorities across the world, and also making sure that that we are all, notwithstanding our different legal frameworks, singing the same song to businesses and to consumers out there about what's required.
Thank you very much, Cecilia. It was very enlightening, and I'm glad that the tone of your intervention sets up for the next speaker, because we are talking about advancing consumer protection and networking, sharing best practices, achieving new standards. And right now, we'll want to give the floor to Jorge Laguna-Celis. He arrived to the meeting, fortunately, and I'm glad he's in the call because he's the head of the One Planet Network, which is hosted by the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP. And this network is a global community of practitioners, policymakers, and experts working to accelerate implementation of SDG 12, of Sustainable Development Goal 12, which consists in enabling, ensuring sustainable patterns of consumption and production. So Jorge, thanks for joining this session. And we wanted to link, of course, sustainability and consumer information. And then now that we have advanced so many points, what would be your take in the coming years? Because we are getting closer to 2030, and we are trying to progress as the 12. And well, we want to hear your thoughts on this. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I will start by wishing each and every one of you that is connected today a happy Consumers' Rights Day. Why is this day important, and why is it important to look forward? Very basic facts. Our consumption drive our ability to fulfill our material needs, but also in our consumption patterns lies the key to addressing a number of planetary challenges the world is facing. Consumption is absolutely vital for us, but it's also important that it's seen as a mindful exercise for the planet. We know that over 90% of people globally express an interest in healthy and sustainable products. But often, as we heard from Cecilia in the experience of her jurisdiction, we are seeing challenges in how to assess and provide to consumers the right information that is needed to make the right choices. Often, these right choices do not involve overconsumption. Actually, they may help us to assess consumption from a new perspective, that it is by extending, by reusing, by recovering, by sharing, and a number of other tools that are being provided by our economic models that help us maximize the lifespan, the life cycle of our products. I was very much inspired and the work that Cameron mentioned about harnessing and using digital tools for advancing and helping us develop a fully circular economy. The fact is that looking in the future, if we want to close the loop, we need to have a very serious discussion about the implications and the potential on how to use digital product information systems as a way, as an innovative tool that can help us transform how we provide reliable and transparent consumer sustainability information, and also how we help regulators assess the validity of the claims. We know that digital product information systems, such as digital product passports, have the significant potential to transform the way we provide this information. We have in the One Planet Network developed a strong idea, and this is how can we leverage digital technologies to facilitate the information of products? And how can we bridge jurisdictions that currently develop specific methodologies, specific approaches, specific systems to embed, from a digital perspective, information on the values and the attributes of a product in a way that disadvances harmonization, that disadvances interoperability, and that disadvances the integration of social, economic, and environmental components. We are seeing the current challenge in which initiatives are fragmented and concentrated in certain regions and sectors. And this is why one of the initiatives that we want to share today as an opportunity to look forward, as you requested me, is to work in a coalition, as the One Planet Network is all about. It's about coalitions and actors bringing together in the context of the Consumer Information Program to advance a global framework for digital product information system. Our aim is to be able to, by 2026, to be in the position to have on a voluntary basis a number of actors, both organizations and countries, not only identifying the potential data categories and outlining the framework for building a global consensus in this regard, and co-developing a number of principles and tools that will help us look into specific value chains, particularly the textiles value chain, electronics value chain, and other opportunities that may arise to us. In essence and in conclusion, we believe that this Consumer Rights Day provides us with an excellent opportunity to advance on the agenda of protecting our consumers by strengthening the capacities of countries, strengthening the capacities of businesses, and ultimately strengthening the capacities of individuals to address the reliable and exact information on products. And how can we do that? Just by working together. Over.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jorge, for joining us, telling us about what comes next and the opportunities that the coalition brings, that the One Planet Network brings. The Consumer Information Program is advancing this and trying to also collide with and have partnerships with different sectors, not just civil society, but also businesses, to welcome them, to welcome governments as well, because we want to advance towards towards a future agenda and a common one. We have some questions submitted to our Slido platform. So if you can use the link that we have shared via chat, you can still ask or comment something that has popped up or brought your interest or attention to. But we do have a question for our panelists. We'll do a very short round, and let me just share the question so that you all have it at hand. The panelists, which is, looking ahead, what is one innovative idea or solution that could transform how we provide reliable and transparent consumer sustainability information? This is to say, of course, that this is not to say that what you have mentioned is not innovative enough. It is. So you can bring more details into our session about your initiatives, or you can even invite to explore other initiatives that you are drafting or thinking on. So let's start by Cameron, if that's okay for you.
Yeah, sure. Quick answer to this one is we have started working with a global nonprofit to start to build a standardized way to get information from manufacturer to brand to retailer in such a way that eases a brand's ability to start making the right sustainability claims and presenting sustainability certification information in a more standardized way. And so we're running some pilots this year that we're hoping that we can make more public in the coming months. And we're very excited about leveraging, I think to Jorge's point, leveraging more digital technology in order to streamline the process so that making sustainability claims in the right way and helping customers understand transparent information in the right way is seamless and easy for everyone to do, incentivizing more brands to do it in the appropriate way moving forward. So that's one area. And then I think the next big area is brands, manufacturers should be leveraging AI technologies whenever they can to kind of help facilitate making the right choices. And so I do think that there's an opportunity for brands around the world to start leaning into AI technologies to help streamline their processes upstream so that they can start to figure out where they can make more improvements in their products and then help get those improvements certified. So I'm very excited about where technology can go to help brands in this way.
Thank you very much, Cameron, for tackling this question. It's not an easy one because it calls also for creativity and having the space and the opportunities to not only to create isolated, but also in partnership with other actors, other stakeholders working on this issue. Cecilia, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Like Cameron's answer on supply chain and making that easier, I think in terms of the consumer end of the spectrum, some degree of standardization of how sustainability information is presented would be really helpful. I think at the moment we're seeing lots of different methods being tested out. So certainly in the UK, there are some brands who will give the carbon impact of a product. There are trials going on of a traffic light system for products. We're also seeing sort of scores that try to integrate different aspects of sustainability. So not just the environmental side, but also taking account of social and economic sustainability as well. I think we do have to go through that learning process and trial these things, but the sooner we can start to consolidate around some key ideas, the sooner consumers can start becoming familiar with those and learning, so that in the same way that for example, the food traffic light system in the UK works, people are very able to very easily understand quickly and kind of when they're in that decision-making process can make choices that are beneficial for the environment.
Thank you very much, Cecilia. And we have also, if I'm not mistaken, Ulf is back in the call. Ulf, if you got the chance to look at the question I just shared, I'm just gonna phrase it again. We're looking for innovative ideas or solutions that could transform how we provide reliable and transparent consumer sustainability information. Any thoughts about this?
Yes, having worked on life cycle assessment for quite a while, and looking at the requirements for transparency and data availability, I think it would not take long if we are ready to have an automated assessment of products, also with a link to consumer information, so that we have an AI-based automatic assessment of products regarding sustainability and giving the information to the consumers is just a second and a minor step to that, but that would change the market definitely. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ulf. And just to close this very quick Q&A, Jorge, would you like to share your thoughts on the same subject?
Yes, the overall ambition is to have a score that helps consumers in a reliable way know the impact of their choices. That is the vision that we have. Getting to that point requires, nevertheless, substantial efforts. And I do think that the tools are there. Number one, having a strong discussion on digital product information systems, the data categories that should be embedded in a product, and starting to change one value chain at that time and ensuring that that information is available. And using, as Ulf mentioned, the power of artificial intelligence to be able to collect all that data and helping consumers with the flash of a QR code know what is the impact of the products that they are choosing. Only then we will understand that two similar products can have very significant environmental impacts. And then we may also be able to appreciate the opportunity to use other approaches that don't necessarily require purchasing new, but maybe purchasing reconditioned, maybe purchasing products that have a higher content of recycled components. And we believe that this is absolutely feasible. We have the tools, we have the commitment from companies to make it happen. I believe that governments should help also by providing the regulatory environment and framework that can make this change a reality.
Thank you very much, Jorge. And just picking some comments and last questions from Slido, I'll just to ask a very quick Q&A about the following, because you have all mentioned that there are initiatives in place, they're working, they're getting improved by its use and being adopted progressively by consumers. There's still some mistrust in what information we get from the goods and services. So I think creativity is in place to get to those consumers that have lost their confidence, their trust in the tools and systems that we have in place already. So how can we, as a consumer information movement, reach consumers who are not interested, for example, in sustainability, not perhaps they don't have the accessibility to technologies that allow them to get information about the life cycle of or the lifetime of a product, or how can they achieve their own sustainability in their own lifestyles. Any quick thoughts on this? Let's just do it for 1 minute each, and then we'll close the session. Ulf, if you're still with us, would you like to go first? No, I think we don't have Ulf anymore. Oh yeah, here he is. Yes, sorry, Ulf, your floor is yours.
What was the question? I could not understand you very well, though.
It's okay. I can repeat the question. It's how can consumer information reach consumers who are not entirely interested in sustainability or don't have the access to technology that connects them to how they can trace origin of a product or the lifetime?
Yeah, of course, a label is the most significant thing to have on the on the product. Still, I think it's also the best way to communicate. Any other thing? I mean, we have also product sustainability declarations, things like that. ISO 14025. These kind of things are good as well. What is important when it comes to e-commerce, for example, is that the information is on the same level where the final purchasing decision is made. So not three floors down, so to say, 3 levels down, but on the same level. This is important and could be ensured also by regulation.
Thank you very much, Ulf. Cecilia, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd like to challenge the question a little bit, because we have to be careful in all of this not to put too much on the responsibility on the consumer. We're never going to be able to engage every consumer in decision making on the sustainability of a product. Many consumers don't have the luxury of paying more for products which are more sustainable, and consumers are bombarded with information, living very complicated lives these days, and asking them to just layer this on is not going to solve the problem. I think what we are relying on is consumers who are interested to send signals to businesses that they have to move in a more sustainable direction. And ultimately, the aim of that is not to make sure that all consumers know how to make the choice between good and bad products, but that products that are performing less well from an environmental perspective are driven out of the market. And we've seen it happening if we look at white goods in Europe, where we have an environmental labeling scheme for things like washing machines and tumble dryers. Over the years, because those products have been required to label themselves and give themselves a grade, the availability of high performing or environmentally high performing products has increased, but the price for those products hasn't necessarily gone up, and in fact has fallen in some cases. So I think that's what we're looking for. We're not trying to teach every consumer in the world how to make sustainable choices. We're trying to get those who are well educated on sustainability issues to drive the change that businesses need to make.
Thank you very much. And on that cue, Cameron, I will give you the floor now to also answer the same question or challenge the question as well. It is an interactive dialogue.
Yeah, no, so I can speak to the digital part specifically, and I think what the Climate Pledge Friendly program is doing and what Amazon is trying to do is just present this information to customers in every area where a customer is making a choice. And whether or not that is call it a dark green customer who is very interested in sustainability, or a customer who may be interested in sustainability, but maybe hasn't made that choice to switch in a particular product area, we want to provide that sustainability information in a clear way. Something that's easy to comprehend and understand, and something that's highly substantiated, very close to how we're doing that. And so that's why we created the labels in such a way, and we build it. We build the ecosystem around Climate Pledge Friendly on Amazon in such a way to where we give customers options. You'll see recommendations across the website in areas where we recommend to customers potential choices that they could be making to switch from a less sustainable product to a more sustainable product. And our whole point is, let's be as transparent as possible. Let's give customers the information and let's allow them to make the choice. I do think some deeper education into how to make those sustainability choices, I think will be healthy for all of our countries and help customers make more informed choices and decisions. I take my role in this is being able to provide that information to customers so that they can easily discover it, so that it's not hidden to the consumer, and so that they can make that appropriate choice when the time comes.
Thank you very much, Cameron. And lastly, but not least, Jorge.
I have 3 examples that I wanted to share. They go in the sense and in the line of what all speakers have been mentioning, that is that reliable and harmonized consumer information does promote, enables, and I think it does triggers more sustainable consumption. The more we know, the better choices we make. The 3 examples are, number 1, we recently launched, only last year it became a reality thanks to the support and strong commitment of partners such as Ulf, that is a very active member of the Consumer Information Program, and also on behalf of the German Ministry of Environment. We supported the launch of the Environmental Alliance of the America, which is a regional eco-label that promotes trust amongst the consumers, as it enables over 450 million people in Latin America to have access to better products. And this can be traded, as a matter of fact, quite freely and amongst the different countries that are members of the Alliance of the Americas. And we're working across different categories of products to being able to use this eco-label in Latin America. The second is working, for example, with the textile sector in China and with the government itself to develop sustainability criteria and promote more sustainable procurement. The government of China, with our support, has decided to look more carefully at the way they purchase textiles and clothing for government officials, and these have to meet certain environmental standards nowadays. That will bring an incredible impact if it's brought to the scale of the Chinese market. The third one is to work with countries, particularly, I would call them the BRICS countries, large middle-income countries, helping the retail industry to improve the credibility of their sustainability claims. In some jurisdictions, we're quite advanced. In others, there is quite a lot of room for improvement. So looking at that very large segment of countries that have millions, hundreds of millions of consumers is key. And with them, we are using the UNEP guidelines for providing product sustainability information and translating them in a new initiative called Retail for Impact that helps retail companies align the sustainability claims at the point of sale, train their staff in better understanding the difference between eco-labels, green claims, good information for consumers, and overall changing the retail practices one aisle at a time. And these are long-term efforts, but we believe that by working with this in this approach, we can make change happen.
Thank you very much, Jorge. You're right, one step at a time, one highlight at a time, one milestone at a time. And I have nothing else to do but to wrap up and thank our excellent panelists for this insightful session, for your ideas, your comments, your suggestions, the initiatives you're doing. We welcome this into many more discussions as well. Reliable consumer information is just essential for making sustainable choices and support sustainable lifestyles and adopting them, and ensuring that consumers can trust these claims made about products, made about services, about goods. We want to thank also our audience for participating. You will get, panelists and audience, you will get a wrap-up of these sessions next week. But we are still heading to the third day of the summit. We have more sessions to cover, so you're invited to join. The registration is still open for more discussions of this type. Without further ado, I thank you all and wish you a great day ahead.